Good afternoon. This is a hearing of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held on September 13th, 2023, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. Janet Williams, our chair, is not in attendance today. I am Karen Latin, and I serve as vice chair. Today's hearing is being broadcast on Channel 8, and is being recorded on the on-demand archives available on the town's website. It is being conducted in person, by phone, and by video conference. The agenda, instructions on how to attend, and copies of documents for review are posted on the town's website. To all participants, whether attending by phone or online, please remain muted unless you have been recognized by the chair or vice chair. When recognized, please identify yourself for the record. If you're attending by phone, you can mute and unmute by using *6. If you are online and you are not a commissioner, please keep your camera turned off unless you have been recognized. Indicate that you wish to speak by using the raised hand feature. So that we have a record of a quorum, I will now ask each commissioner to indicate their presence. Bob Rawls.
Here, present.
Bob Delvecchio.
Present.
Mary Sullivan.
Present remotely.
You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry,
Elise
yes,
Gordon.
present remotely.
Present.
Cheryl Meservey. And I am the vice chair, and I am here. We have established that we have a quorum. Before we begin the agenda, are there any announcements about requests for continuances today? Paul?
As far as that certificate of compliance that's on, let's see, that was 70 Sears Point Lane. I think that you should just continue that to a date certain. They're going to refile. So there aren't any continuances as far as I know, or anybody that notified us. Crystal, are you there? Hello? So I guess, Madam Chair, the answer is no, as far as I know.
Sorry, it took me a minute to find my unmute.
There you go.
So 498 and 500 Shore Road,
Yes.
they continued to September 27th.
Thank you. At this point, Paul Whiteman, our serving Chatham Conservation Agent, will lead us through the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioners. The first thing on the agenda is an enforcement order that was issued to 93 Orleans Road, William Ferguson, map 15H, parcel 1-14, for unauthorized alteration of the buffer zone to a resource area of a VW, and to approve the restoration order. The status of this enforcement order is they are waiting to receive the Commission's restoration order. Once they receive that, they will begin putting the plantings in. They haven't done the plantings. So as soon as that restoration order is received, I'll get in touch with Phil Cheney and Mr. Ferguson, and hopefully we'll get this back on track for the next meeting or the one after that. That's the current status.
Okay, where is the enforcement order now? Because it's not in our Dropbox. Oh, it is? Did I miss it? Oh, yes, restoration, it's its own folder. So don't we have to sign it? And we have to review it. So are there any comments? Because we have discussed this a few times.
I put comments in the file called restoration order.
Okay, let's see. In the admin review, or? No. I'm trying to find it. The completed form.
Restoration order dot X. So that looks like a restoration order.
Okay. Let's see what your comments were. Obviously, they're in red.
So, yeah. I can go through them if you
Yeah,
like.
that would be great.
So the main addition that I made was, and this is just my proposal, to add the fact that there was an admin review done to the chain of events. It actually was the first thing that happened. So in the relevant documents section, I added admin review dated, and I believe it's 12/22/21. And Crystal, you can verify whether that's right. And then later on in the violation enforcement information, I add a paragraph saying, although an administrative review dated 12/22/21 had previously approved selected tree removal, the number of trees removed far exceeded those authorized by the review. And just going further down the document, where there's a date in red, and that is, we need to fill that date in, a tree inventory prepared by Trail Cheney. Let's just have a blank here, I don't know what it is. And then the chronology table, I added the admin review as the first item. And I think that
looks like
is
that's
it. That's what I added.
All right, thank you. Does anybody else have anything else to add to this?
This is Crystal.
Hi, Crystal, go ahead.
So anything that was in red were things that I didn't have the information for. I don't remember how much there was in red, but if you see stuff in red, it's usually because I didn't know what the date was or the information.
So you're saying that the date that's missing for the tree inventory, we don't know what that date is?
Yeah, I don't know the exact date that it was done.
Can I see if Phil is here?
Madam Chair, if I could, I can go back in my emails and find that date. I met with Phil Cheney, I think just a few days before he did the tree inventory. We discussed doing the inventory. That was the basis for determining how many plants were going to have to be needed to replace the trees that were cut. So I can, if you vote to issue the restoration order, we can fill in that date when it gets back upstairs here with Crystal.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else to be added? Then I think we're,
I have a question.
okay.
On general, where is it? General requirements under C7, it reads, all restoration plantings shall be cared for to ensure their survival throughout the entire term of the restoration order. Now, is there going to be any follow-up after the restoration order, after the plantings are installed? I mean, generally, on the other orders, we have a term of 3 years. And just wondering if there's going to be any follow-up that we can incorporate into this restoration order.
Good point,
Go
Bob.
ahead.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have in our normal template for orders now a provision that mitigation is cared for in perpetuity. So the question,
Right.
logical to consider whether or not we should add something to this.
So I'm just thinking, after it's installed.
I agree.
What happens then?
I think we need to add a sentence to that area, that C7, that says that the plantings will be cared for in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Please. Crystal, Elise is doing the modifications. And then we'll send it to you. Anything else? Mary? Then I guess we're ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the enforcement order for 93 Orleans Road with the changes noted.
Gordon, second.
Elise?
Aye. Sorry.
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mary? Did we lose her? And I say aye, so it does pass. Crystal, you'll let us know when the dates have been updated so we can. Okay, we have to take a break. I wondered. Oh, well, there. Oh. Yeah. Do you know when we lost it? Was it after the motion? During the motion? All right, why don't we do it again, just to be safe?
We did not hear the motion.
Okay, thank you, Mary. All right,
I'll make a motion that we approve the enforcement order for 93 Orleans Road with the changes noted.
Gordon, second.
all right. Elise?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I say aye, that is passed. Crystal, I assume you'll let us know when this is ready so we can all come and sign?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I should be able to do it tomorrow.
Okay, if you just send us all a quick email when it's in the box. It can be in the box, or do we have to come in?
I would come in for this one,
Okay,
just because it's enforcement.
sure, okay. All right, Paul, we're ready for the next.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. The next thing on the item on the agenda is 11 Kingsbury Way for a requested order of conditions. The applicant is Louis Cafaro, map 14D, parcel 17-9, DEP number SE10. The agenda says 36. I don't think that's correct, but Japanese knotweed removal after the fact permitting a patio and deck constructed by previous owner.
I believe
That was
we,
issued today.
yes, I was going to say, I believe we have the SE number, and we also, right before the meeting, received the letter from the condo association. So I think we have what was missing. All right, so I'll open it to comments on this order, if any changes, adds.
I put a bunch of stuff into the draft in
Great.
Dropbox. I can go through it. I don't see
Please.
any other comments there. I just changed not wood to not weed a few times.
Oh, yes.
And now for the condominium license and the list of supporting documents, we can say there was, we can put the date in, whatever it happens to be. Going down to findings, number 2. I tried to put some language in there that sort of reflected what Thad had suggested in an email to us, having to do with the license agreement. So what I put is, okay, I'll just read the whole thing. Since a large portion of the project is on the property at 36 Cross Street condominiums, a letter giving 11 Kingsbury Way owner the ability to maintain the mitigation area on that property in perpetuity is pending agreement with the condominium owners. Work will not proceed until a copy of the agreement is provided to the conservation agent. We should say signed copy. I'll put that in there. Okay, all right. Should the license be revoked at any point in the future, the owner shall provide a plan change reflecting adequate additional mitigation on the owner's property. I also added, I think we did talk at the hearing about the fact there's a shed there. We didn't know whether it was ever a licensed shed, so I just put that in there as a placeholder for our discussion. Then the variance section, it was just the template language, so I just went ahead and
Correct.
made it real with all the normal provisions. And that could be, let's see. Again, down at the end of special conditions, a license letter from the 36 cross-street condominiums, granting the homeowner access for the removal of knotweed and maintenance of the area in perpetuity is required. Should it be revoked, the homeowner will be required to submit a plan change compensating for mitigation that would have been or was planted in the area owned by the condominium association. Then I added one more placeholder for the shed. So I think the language with regard to the license is what, anyway, that's my suggestion for that language. And then there's the only outstanding item, I think, is do we want to do anything about the shed? I don't know, we haven't heard, at the hearing, I recall that there was the representative did not know if it was, had ever received a conservation approval, and I don't know if that's still the case.
There was an email today. Thad, I think you're on by phone, aren't you?
I am.
Okay, could you talk
I am.
to
Can
us
you hear me?
about that?
We didn't realize the shed had not been permitted. It was done before the applicant had purchased the property. There's enough area. We have 1,700 square feet of mitigation. Adding the shed in as an after the fact under the same, we have the space for it. So if we could add that in, we'd appreciate it.
So in other words, Thad, just to clarify, your offer of mitigation would include the addition of the shed?
Yes, so there's about 1,700 square feet of mitigation of knotweed removal and planting. With the shed, the requirement would be 1,658. With the deck, with the patio, at the 2-to-1 with the current. If they had permitted this properly back in 2000, it would have been a lot less.
Right, all right, so we just,
So Thad, with the shed, what is the square footage in the NDZ? It was 744.
85 square feet.
800?
85.
Oh, okay.
So, well, the total, it's 85 square feet, or it's 829
Okay.
is the total within the NDZ.
Elise, can you update under findings 829? It's in the second paragraph. It says 744, and it's now 829 if we include the shed.
So 829.
Thank you.
Should I put anything in there referring to the fact that the shed is included or just?
yeah, for finding number
Yes.
3, just need to change that sentence to say that the shed in the NDZ was also never received a conservation
And has been included.
and has been included in the after-effect approval in this order.
I'm waiting to let you at least catch up.
Yeah,
Multitasking today.
Yeah, I know, thank you.
You can also get rid of the last special condition. Last special condition can be removed.
That has shed,
Or
question mark.
Shed question mark.
should we say something about there's, adequate mitigation to account for the non-licensed shed for number 8?
Is that sort of assumed because we said the 829? I mean, we can.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
in the findings, we can say that during the hearing, it was discovered that the shed was also
Okay.
needed to be
Is that,
approved and that the mitigation
Yeah,
is. My first
So
knock in a
there's-
long time, all right.
so we can add to that, Elise, so
So I
there's,
put in finding number 3,
yeah, I was going to ask.
I put the non-licensed shed in the NDZ has been. I'm so sorry. In finding number 3, I put the non-licensed shed in the NDZ has been accounted for in the mitigation calculation above. Is that
Perfect.
sufficient? Okay.
Sounds good. Anything else? Bob?
no, so, thank you.
Okay. Anybody? Mary? Do you have anything?
All set.
Okay, then I guess we're ready for motion.
I'll make a motion that we close the hearing on 11 Kingsbury Way and accept the order of conditions with the changes noted for the same address.
Gordon, second.
All right. Elise?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Now, I believe we can't actually issue it, though, until we have that signed letter. Thad,
Okay.
all right? Because I know it said that just in the letter that I saw in the email, it said to send it to them to get it signed. All right, so as soon as we have
We will
that,
get the attorney on top of that.
perfect, thank you. And then, Crystal, then we can issue it. But at least they're all set once we have that. All right, Paul, we're ready for the next. Did I lose him? You there, Paul?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Next on the agenda is a determination of applicability. 2-19 Lobster Lane, Lighthouse Village Condominiums is the address, map 15A, parcel 7-X1, R-23-11, for a new septic system.
All right,
Good afternoon. John O'Reilly. Can you hear me okay?
yes, thank you.
Thank you. I'm here today for the Lighthouse Village condominiums. They have a septic system that failed a real estate inspection, and they engaged us to redesign a replacement system. For wetland resources, we are on Seagull Road. We are within the flood zone, an AE flood zone. And then we do have a tidal creek to the northwest, as well as a mapped dune based on the DEP mass mapper. We have proposed a new septic tank, a treatment facility, and a pressure dose leaching facility underneath the existing Shell driveway and parking areas. We really have no alternative here, so we are putting it in the center of this lot. Fortunately, with the technology and the type of design, we do not need to do a mound or an elevated system. So the grades, as you look at them today, will basically be the same after installation. And the idea is that we would restore the disturbed areas with the back to pre-construction condition, that being Shell Drive and landscaped areas in front of the cottages. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, anybody? Go ahead.
Sure. Normally, this is the sort of thing the Board of Health takes the lead on. Have they approved this approach? Do you have approval from the Board of Health?
Yes, we met with the Board of Health this past Monday, and the board approved the project as presented.
Okay. Because I'm unfamiliar with this technology, the so-called STAR system. But as long as they're okay with it, that's good. I have one more question. No, I don't have any more questions, actually. That was it. Oh, actually, one more question. Is this something that DEP would have to weigh in on? Because I guess it's sort of a class of an innovative septic.
The DEP has weighed in on the technology, that the STAR treatment process does have a remedial approval permit through the DEP program. So that's how this system is being installed, through a remedial.
Okay.
The system is allowed to provide a 2-foot reduction in groundwater height. So the utility of the STAR is allowing us to keep the grades relatively the same.
And I don't know what a remedial approval means, but it's just pending?
Remedial approval is dealing with existing, the way I look at remedial approval is dealing with existing conditions. So you're rehabbing or remediating a failed system.
Oh, I see. All right. So it wouldn't be approved for a new project?
I do not believe the Star has general permit yet.
Okay.
But they are looking for that, of course.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, I got a question. Hi, how are you?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
Fine, thank you. After the system goes in, there's gonna be some landscaping done. There's a cobblestone edging for the driveway and so forth. And there are some trees adjacent to that area, honey locust trees. Do you think that they will be disturbed, the trees?
We have tried very hard to avoid taking those trees down. I think we're going to lose the trees on one side of the parking versus the other. But we are holding out hopes that we can install the leaching facility without damaging the trees. We will need to put some root guards adjacent to the leach field so we don't run into a problem down the road with the roots. But we have sought and were given a variance to limit the soil removal to directly below the leaching facility. So we're not required to do an extra 5 feet around the field, which gives us a fighting chance to save those trees.
Okay, in case they are in poor shape or removed, can you replace them with natives? In other words, is the condominium association, I'm sure those trees are valuable right now to the condominium association.
Yes. Yeah, they are.
So I imagine they'd want to replant more trees in those areas.
Yeah, we haven't gotten that far with the condominium, but they have expressed an interest to, replace landscape that was damaged or in the way of the new system. And I do not see why, using natives to put them back, put natives back in. If we lose one or two, I think that's fine.
Okay,
I think there's enough variety to choose from.
right. Probably something on the maybe smaller to medium size versus
Exactly.
something too large.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Can
Thank
we
you.
add that as a condition within the RDA? It should be approved, and I would assume at that point, if you've lost some trees, you would consult the agent before planting any new trees to get approval.
That is, I'm happy with that type of requirement or condition on the RDA.
Okay.
I don't know if you folks do condition RDAs, but I could certainly update the conservation notes on the plan to reflect, native replacement and coordination with the agent at the time.
That would be good, and I think we have in the past put some conditions on the RDA. So I think we can also do that as well, but
Okay.
it would be good to have it on the plan, I believe.
I will update the plan accordingly.
Thank you.
I would also add, it isn't necessary to put the replacement trees in the same area. If you're concerned about tree roots, for example,
Yeah.
you could put
Yeah,
those trees in a better place.
That's right, and we would do that.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, I guess we're ready for a motion.
And Paul, this is a -2?
Yes.
-2. Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve a -2 determination of applicability for 2 through 19 Lobster Lane.
Gordon, second.
All right. Elise?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I say aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Paul, we're up to the next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is an application for a notice of intent, 23 Wilkie Way, William Riley, map 17D, parcel 9-F10. I don't know if there's an SC number for this, Crystal, but I'm going to continue with reading it. removal of invasive plants, new planting, new gravel infiltration strips at residence and garage, new bark mulch path, expanded crushed shell driveway, a new walkway and steps, and new fencing is the project.
Thank you. Is there any representative for this property? Didn't think so. All right. From what I understand, the representative from Zen Associates has left Zen, and which is why we're not hearing anything from them. They reached out to somebody else at Zen, Crystal did, and we have not heard back from them. It was recommended yesterday during the pre-meeting that we contact now the owner of the property to see who is actually going to be in charge of this work. I believe, and I'd love opinions if anybody has any, we can continue it to the next meeting, but it also was recommended yesterday that we let the owner know that if there is still no representative, that we're going to close this. And if they would like to come back to us at a later date, that would be fine. But to keep continuing it doesn't make sense when there's nobody showing up. Opinions?
I more or less agree. At the last time we talked about this, there was no rep present either, and
Correct.
there were a number of questions that we had that we didn't get any answers to. So it does seem to be sort of DOA right now.
It does. And so we thought we'd give them one last opportunity. And if we maybe heard something from the owner, or the owner was aware of what was going on, that then maybe we can get someplace on this.
I would agree with that approach.
Then I think we need a motion to continue it to the 27th. And we will see what happens at that time.
Make a motion that we continue 23 Wilkie Way to September 27th, 2023.
Gordon, second.
All right, Elise?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I say aye. Thank you. All right, we are now on the next, Paul.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is another notice of intent for 215 Cross Street and 23 Stage Harbor Road. Ernest Pehigny, I don't do well with names. Revocable Trust, Joan Ansel Pehigny, Revocable Trust, and CC Holdings LLC, map 14C, parcels 24-14A, 215 and 2514 AA, 223. And again, I'm not sure if there's an SE number that's been issued. Removal of non-native plantings along common property line and replanting of native vegetation is the proposed project.
Go
Good
ahead.
afternoon, David Clark on behalf of the applicants. Joyce Williams is also here. This is 100% a landscaping project. The homeowners got together and they'd like to replace the common buffer of plantings between the two houses. Majority of them are non-natives, and they'd like to replace them with straight natives, and also do additional plantings along the top of the bank to the ditch. So the resource area is a intermittent stream. We located the top of bank as the limits of the BVW. It's quite a deep ditch, so the BVW doesn't extend any further than the top of the bank. Doesn't require any zoning relief because no structures are being proposed. Joyce is here to talk about the plant selection if you have questions regarding that. Otherwise, I think it's a pretty straightforward project.
Okay, thank you. Do we want to ask any questions, or do we want Joyce to speak first? I think since it's primarily landscaping, why don't we let Joyce speak to the project first?
Good afternoon, Joyce Williams, Landscape Design, West Chatham. As David said, it is a pretty straightforward project, and at the risk of repeating what's already been given to you in the way of the, of the project, there exists an old arborvitae hedge with a couple of big old hollies in it, which are all being choked by privet that is mixed in with all of this. And the big hollies and a number of the other trees are covered with invasive porcelain vine. And there are other invasives in there as well, bittersweet, some ailanthus, closer to the top of the bank, that sort of thing. So the goal, and you can see that the existing hedge was not straddling the property line. So what we're trying to do is get good coverage back in that's going to last for more decades, or as many decades at least as the existing hedge has been there, evenly divide it between the two properties, and propose using juniper virginiana or eastern red cedar as the hedge material. There's a little bit of privet and herbaceous ornamental material at the top of the bank on the number 215 side. And our proposal there is to remove that by hand and do a restoration area in there. The goal then, once the hedge would be put in, is to push the lawn on the 215 side up to the hedge, and bearing in mind that this hedgerow would be about 12 feet wide. And for aesthetic purposes, to just bring that slightly into the no disturb zone, but mitigate that with by removing some of the lawn that's actually closer to the top of the bank. And in finished project would provide better protection from the top of the bank, from the outdoor active living spaces that exist there. So I think all in all, we've put together a good project that's going to provide, fill the goals that the homeowners are shooting for, and provide a much healthier environmental situation there for plants, animals, et cetera.
Oops, thank you. Any questions, comments? Anybody want to start, or? Okay. We're letting you start.
I got a couple of questions. Joyce, how are you?
I'm well, thanks, Bob. Nice to see you.
You too. So anyway, Joyce, you mentioned in the narrative here under the proposed landscape project that the existing plants are going to be removed by hand. You think that's possible?
No, and I did send to Crystal on Monday of, I think it was this Monday, Friday I was too late to get it to you, but a change there, because I did some cutting and pasting here, and I neglected to put the word mechanically removed, and to strike out the second line of that paragraph. So what changes I did send to her attention and to David's would read under proposed landscape project. The landscape project proposes mechanical removal of overgrown mixed ornamentals at the rear of the property, north side, within the 0 to 50 foot setback from the coastal bank. And then the following sentence, all native trees, pitch pines and cherries will remain.
Okay, thank you.
There's a line that's I struck out, but I'm not seeing it on my, sorry, because I'm reading to you from the correction. I don't have the other one with me, but it's the second line, I'm quite sure, that should be struck out.
No problem. Thank you. And also, in our regulations, we don't allow an expansion of the irrigation system, but I don't see that you would necessarily be doing that here.
No, I did mention that they would like to put in some temporary irrigation to get the hedge going, but when all is said and done, the existing irrigation that is there is going to take care of
The different lawn area,
the
the new lawn
different,
area.
the changes in lawn area. There'll be
Yes.
maybe some slight changes in placement of existing irrigation, but it's.
Right.
You could probably not even have to move any irrigation, and you could cover all the areas.
Okay.
Reasonable question, for sure.
That's all I had. It looks like a good planting to me anyway, but thank you. That's
Thank
all
you.
I had.
Anybody else, or I can go?
My major observation is I wish all neighbors would work together like this. It's a lovely plan with two properties, and I think it's put together very well.
And lovely clients.
Do you have anything you want me to? Well, I have one question. You say flowering shrubs are to be determined. Do you know what you're going to put in there? Because we ought to know that in order to approve.
It's not within your jurisdiction.
Oh,
That is
true.
why I did not
Okay,
say
that's true.
what it's
Yep.
going to be, and the homeowners
Want
don't know
to
yet what
decide.
they'd like to do
Yeah.
there.
Okay. And you are leaving a couple junipers and everything. There's no chance that those at the very edge that aren't being removed, they won't be disturbed, right?
I don't see that they need to be disturbed or have
Good.
to be
Okay.
disturbed as we remove the other things.
And any lawn that's going back in, will it be Cape Cod lawn?
I would imagine it would be Cape Cod grass seed mix.
Okay,
What's
that's what
approved,
we
approved, the
usually-
general.
right. That's what we usually ask for, so I just wanted to make sure. I think that might be all I have. Bob?
Just a couple. This incredible amount of invasive vines at work there. I guess it's been at work for a long time. Covering a lot of big trees. Are there two hollies there
There are
underneath all
two
of that?
holly trees that are almost hard to find. You almost have to find the trunks, which are fairly good size.
Right.
But the tops have all been killed off, and they're just blanketed with porcelain vine.
Okay,
And then they're grown in from the outside edges of the hedge with privet, for the most part.
right. Yeah, but I guess we have an updated document that we haven't seen, but in it, it's, you say that no non-natives will be taken out. Those hollies would be, are those
No, I
not-
did not say that no natives. I said that we were going to remove the hollies.
Oh, you did say that.
In
Okay.
addition, yeah, the hollies are essentially dead.
They are, okay, it's really hard to tell.
I mean,
That's based on my
there's-
question.
There's life there. You can find some holly leaves, and both homeowners would say that you can definitely find holly leaves when you're trying to clean up around the base of them, because they always are stabbing people.
Yeah.
But for the most part, there's nothing about them to retain.
To save,
Yeah.
okay. Because they're very big, it's unfortunate.
Mm.
So you're going to remove all of the vines from the property that are currently strangling these trees?
Well, we're not going anywhere on the property other than in this area that we're talking
That's what
about
I'm sorry, I'm
disturbing.
in the, yes, in
But
the area of
the
concern.
goal is to get out the roots of those vines when we get out the stumps of the
Right. The
trees that are
porcelain
there.
berry, the ivy, the, whatever it is.
Yes.
Okay. I happened to talk to the owner when I was there. There's also a big tree out of the resource area that we were looking at. And the ivy, even though it's cut around at the base, it's still growing. And I've never actually seen that before, but it looks like it's so embedded into the trunk and gets into the folds of the bark that
Oh, yes.
it's still making
yes,
it down to the soil.
Yes.
So hopefully you can do something there. Also, it's not in our jurisdiction, obviously, but it's a nice tree.
I know what you're talking about, but I
Yeah,
haven't been
he'll
asked to
he'll show it
address
to
it.
you. It's a very large, nice tree. It's being
It's the one
strangled.
that's right near the street you're
Yes,
talking
out
about,
by
yeah.
the street. It's being strangled also, but,
Yeah, there's some nice little trees on
Yeah.
both those properties.
okay. The only thing that occurred to me when I looked at the plan was, it'd be nice if there were a little more variety to the hedge.
Well, we talked about that, but the goal of the hedge is to give a wall of screening,
Right,
because you can see from one upstairs into the other upstairs. So when you start to put in different shaped plant material, I suggested perhaps, would you like to do a couple of spruces or do something at one end and something else at the other? But both agreed independently of one another that they liked the solids screening, and given that it's all native material and great habitat, that's how we chose to go the
Okay,
route we
all
did.
right. Well, all right,
You end up with Vs that are different shapes, so you open up with a view window through the hedge,
they're trying to hedge
trying-
higher up as well, then, they're,
eventually.
yeah, okay, all right, all right. Yeah, I don't have anything else.
All right, then I think we can do a motion and do it to an OOC next time.
Make a motion that we continue 215 Cross Street and 223 Stage Harbor Road to September 27th, 2023 for an order of conditions.
Gordon, second.
All right, Elise?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I say aye. That's passed too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Paul?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is another notice of intent. The address is 18 Pine Drive, Kimberly Bullis, map 6C, parcel J11. I don't know if an SE number's been issued on it. Demolition of an existing dwelling and construction of a new single-family dwelling is the proposed project.
Thank you.
You're
Good
welcome.
afternoon, David Clark, Clark Engineering on behalf of the Ballas family. Joyce Williams is also here, who prepared the landscape mitigation plan. As stated, this is a demolition and rebuild of an existing dwelling. The resource area is technically a coastal bank, and there is a floodplain that just clips the northeast corner of the property. You're standing on the property, you would never know you were anywhere close to a wetland resource. Nonetheless, the landform on portions of the property or adjacent property qualify as a coastal bank. In between this house and the salt marsh, which would be the Bucks Creek and the Cockle Cove Creek salt marshes, there are developed lots with dwellings on them. So there is, in this particular neighborhood, with the density that's there, that has existed for probably since the 1950s, there's very little native vegetation and habitat left other than trees along common property lines. That being said, they are looking to demolish the existing dwelling, construct a new dwelling, and provide additional outdoor living space in the form of a patio. It results in increases in the no-disturb zone to the bank, as well as increases in the 50 to 100. 100% of the property is within 100 feet of that coastal bank. All of the increases are within the developed portion of the lot. There's a scruffy Cape Cod lawn around the dwelling now, and that's where all of the expansion is going to occur. As far as alternatives, given that it's such a small lot, 7,000 square feet or 7,100 square feet, the septic is going to be a new Title V system that's placed as far away from the resource area as possible, which also leaves us with very limited room to place the dwelling. We have been to the Board of Health for the variance associated with the septic system, which is basically an upgrade of the existing dwelling. We initially applied for an extra bedroom, and the Board of Health didn't think the size of the lot was appropriate for an additional bedroom, even though we were offering IA technology that would have reduced nutrients. They still declined the extra bedroom. So, like I said, the location of the septic system prevents us from moving the house any closer to the street. And so Joyce has prepared a mitigation plan where they're giving up substantial portions of their remaining yard to be infilled with native plants. This does have to go to the zoning board of appeals. I have not heard when the date is. I believe it has been filed with the zoning board. But I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments? Anybody?
Okay, I got a few questions for Joyce, David.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Joyce Williams, Landscape Design, West Chatham.
Joyce, just starting from the left side of the property, left front corner, so I guess that would be that southwest. There's a barberry shrub on the that corner. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yes, I can't tell you offhand whether it's on whose property it's on. I don't remember, but if it's not showing on my plan, so it's either we're taking it out or it belongs to the neighbor.
Okay, so it's going to be removed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it looks like it's on this property. And then you said that you would retain the linden. Looks like a various trunks coming up from the ground. Maybe it was cut at one time.
I don't know about that. There's a crabapple that's growing
That's
in there
there
that will
too,
go.
yes.
And
Okay.
Oftentimes lindens do actually put out a lot of growth very low to the ground at the base of a tree that's not been cut
Okay.
previously. So I don't know, I haven't looked at it but it looks healthy enough and it has enough of a crown on it that we thought it was worth keeping.
Okay, you're not concerned about the power lines, huh? The power lines go directly over that.
Well, I didn't concern myself with it, obviously, but
Okay.
can't tell you whether I didn't notice or it was
Okay.
so far along, so far before that's going to be an issue. I just didn't address it, sorry.
Okay.
Happy to take another look at it, but.
Yeah, and then on the back property line, you have you gotta clear all those invasives out of there and all those trees that are there.
All the ornamentals that are in there, we're going to leave the pines and the choke cherries that are,
Okay, it looked like crab apples to me. I didn't see any cherries.
I think down near the shed, I could be wrong, but I think there's a native black cherry there.
I didn't see anything, but I saw some nice fruit on the crab apples.
Okay. Well, if it's a good-looking crabapple tree, I'd probably keep it.
Okay. And then up by the new driveway that's going in, the cobble's gonna stop before you get to the pines along the road.
At the property line.
Okay, because those pines have shallow roots along the driveway there.
The driveway is going to stay where it is as far as, because the trees are remaining. So
Yes.
there's going to be a little throat, if you will, that, which is another reason to have stopped or would have been another reason, had that even been on their property, to not have the cobblestone come all the way in, because it would have had to narrow at that point.
Okay. And
But the driveway's been there for X number of years, and so have those trees, and so far there hasn't been enough traffic to cause any serious compaction issues or anything that's hurting the trees at this stage anyway.
Yeah, and you're gonna prune the existing trees on the property? Like the pines and so forth, if there is any dead wood and so forth?
I hadn't gotten that far because I couldn't honestly tell, obviously, but I think if there's anything that's threatening,
Yeah.
certainly we'd want to take it down, but I'm talking branches or something, but
Yeah,
I didn't look closely at that big pine that's in the northeast, or northwest corner. other than the fact that we didn't have any plans to remove it or any of the other large trees back there.
Okay. And yeah, there's a plywood sign on the one on the left in the southwest, next to the road, which probably which will have to be removed as well. As well as the crab apples along the back will all be pruned and taken care of, if you're gonna,
If we were
Retain
to
them.
keep them, yes.
yes, okay. Okay, that's all I had, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just a few. I agree, David, with you when you, it was surprising to me that there's a coastal bank there. I guess only in the technical sense. Because the resource area seems to be quite a ways away. And it's surrounded by houses. So, yeah, not too concerned. I think the project overall is good. Everything's permeable. The hardscape seems to be permeable. A lot of natives all around, drought tolerant lawn, so there's really no, it's definitely gonna be a net gain to the environment. I will ask you, David, though, and this is just sort of a general observation, that we promulgated our new regs on officially, I think, July 11th. And I'm just looking at your numbering scheme for you, I guess you must have a template for,
Yeah, it's been the same one for
Yeah.
15 years,
So
pretty much.
I think you'll need to go look at it again.
Okay.
I'll be saying this to all the reps that come before us today, because you're not addressing Section 5 in the ARA, for example, which is a new section. And some of the numbering for Section 4 has changed, that's why I believe that your template is out of date. I think in this particular application, it doesn't make that much difference, but it would probably in some future applications. That's it.
Thank you.
Anything else? My only question, really, because I think most has been already brought up, is could you tell me what percentage of the plantings are native, especially in the NDZ?
Under
In the
site
NDZ.
coverage, under site coverage calculations.
Right. I know how much you're planting. Oh, okay. All right. So they all
Excuse me,
are,
above that, under the proposed landscape plan, the second bulleted item,
so,
it says 77.5% of the, excuse me, first it says 100% of proposed mitigation within the 0 to 50 setback will be native, as shown on the plan and proposed mitigation plant list. 77.5% of the proposed mitigation
Yeah.
within the 50 to
okay.
100
I
will be native.
didn't have that open. Thank you. And the smooth hydrangea that's in the NDZ, that is considered native, I believe.
It's native to, I think the closest to us would be in the Appalachian Mountains.
But it's considered
It is-
native in Massachusetts.
Yes.
Okay. I think I have one, and I was told it was native to the Cape, so that's why I was asking. I just wanted to make
It's not
sure.
native to the Cape.
Okay.
We don't have any native hydrangeas, I assume.
No.
Yeah. Thanks. All right.
It's a very good pollinator plant, though, and more people on the Cape should be planting it when they want to plant a hydrangea, a white one.
I think if it's the same one I have, it was labeled as native to the Cape. So like the only native hydrangea there is, and I have only one. So I don't know. But that's why I was asking.
Maybe it grew up here.
Well, I bought it. So mine didn't grow here. I bought it.
But
But
we all know you can't be a native unless you're born here.
yeah, exactly. All right, then, anything else? Anybody? All right. I guess we can go to, then we can do an order. How soon do you want this order?
It hasn't gone to zoning board yet,
Right.
so.
Oh, that's true. So we're going to continue it anyway.
Okay.
We can write the order, but we won't actually vote on it till after zoning
Okay.
approves.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look at Sarah's comment letters for this meeting, and.
It said that, I did, a special permit from ZBA is required. To date, no application has been received.
So we definitely have to continue, yeah.
Yeah, so should we continue it into October?
I would think that'd be fine.
I mean,
It doesn't need to be the first meeting either, because if it's,
No.
if the date of her letter, no application's been filed, it's gonna be October, November before they get before zoning board.
Exactly.
So if we can go to the second or the last meeting in October,
okay,
that way
you want to go to October
we'll have a
25th?
definitive date by then,
I think October 25th then.
okay?
Make a motion that we continue 18 Pine Drive to October 25th, 2023.
Gordon, second.
All right, Elise,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and I say aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Paul, we're ready for the next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is another notice of intent, 513 Stage Harbor Road, John Evans and Elaine Dimopoulos, map 14A, parcel 11-92. SE10, there is an SE number for this now, I just looked it up, it's 3646. Proposed building modifications and addition and associated site improvements is the proposed project.
All right.
Good afternoon. For the record, Sean Riley, Coastal Engineering. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Great. And with me, I have Teresa Sprague from Blue Flax Design to discuss some of the mitigation work when we get into it. Just to give you a high-level overview of where we are, can you see my screen with the aerial map?
Yes.
We're just off of Bridge Street, the corner of Bridge and Stage Harbor. You can see the arrow here highlighting the property. We have a flood zone that comes in from Mitchell River that comes along the property line on the Bridge Street side and along the driveway of the abutting property, which defines a coastal bank, which I'll jump over to the site plan. And here showing the site plan, here's the Bridge Street over to the right, and Stage Harbor is in the lower side of the plan view. What you're looking at here is the existing conditions with the coastal bank defined and highlighted in yellow, the 50-foot and 100-foot buffers. 50-foot is shown in red, 100-foot is shown in blue. I've highlighted the patio section of the existing building as that is the location that we focused on to propose the addition, keeping in mind that we wanted to keep the addition outside of the no disturb zone and generally within the footprint of the existing brick patio. Surrounding the house and driveway is lawn area out to this edge of clearing with the green highlight. So this is all lawn area that we'd be working within for anything shown outside of the existing footprint. There is no trees or native shrubs that are to be removed under this proposal. So this is the existing conditions. I'll slide over to the proposed. There's a large renovation of the existing property, or sorry, the existing dwelling that we're looking to do an interior renovation with the small addition, again, in the area of this brick patio on the existing. The orange highlights the house addition that we're proposing, again, outside of the 50-foot buffer. We have patio that we're proposing from in the 50 to 100 within existing lawn area. And then we're providing just steppers between the patio and the new entrance into the house addition and more steppers. So this is what we're asking for a variance for, are to provide these steppers within the 0 to 50, again, all within lawn area. We're proposing vegetation around the perimeter, ornamental plantings around the perimeter of the house. Anything within the 50 to 100-foot buffer that we're proposing for plantings will be 50% native. And anything that we're proposing within the no disturb zone for these planting beds will be 100% native plantings. When we started out our mitigation for this project, we looked at removal of lawn as our primary source of mitigation. But then going out and looking at the areas, we found an extensive area of invasives that are on the bank. We had anticipated going to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the building addition, as some of the work is within the Conservancy District. We've since found out that we do not need to go to Zoning Board of Appeals. So we only really have a partial planting plan. Teresa just returned from vacation, so we've brought her on board to prepare a full land management plan and mitigation planting plan. And should this board see fit to continue this, we would provide that land management plan and the mitigation planting for your review prior to writing any order of conditions. And we have the mitigation information provided on the plan. Based on a 2-to-1 mitigation for the steppers that we're providing or proposing within the 0 to 50, and at a 1-to-1 mitigation for the increasing coverage in the 50 to 100, we come up with a total mitigation required of 1,113 square feet. We're proposing almost 3-to-1 mitigation for that additional coverage at 3,260 square feet. With that, there really isn't a whole lot of other disturbance. We're not having to do anything with the septic. Any of the storage would be in the driveway areas outside of the no disturb zone of any of the materials. We would have a dumpster on site. We provided a construction protocol within our application. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Questions? Teresa, do you want to talk first?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Teresa Sprague with Blue Flax Design. I don't have much to add at this time. I did have an opportunity to go out and visit the site. We're working on a land management plan now. As you know, if you've been to the site, it's significantly invaded around the whole perimeter of the property. For the purposes of this plan, we're focusing on one specific area, and we'll be discussing in more detail how we're going to manage the vegetation in that area and manage mowing around it. It's a large property, as you've seen from Sean's plan. There's a significant amount of invasive vegetation, and the homeowners would like to bite this off a little bit at a time, starting with this particular plan that we're going to be presenting to you at the next hearing. And I think we can get into more detail at that time.
All right, thank you. Anybody?
I got something small. On the original mitigation plan, there are some ornamental grasses as you turn into the drive on the right. And I just wondered, it's labeled as existing or proposed plantings in 50 to 100 coastal buffer. So I was just wondering why that was shaded dark green.
The existing grasses?
Yeah, the existing ornamental grasses.
Not quite sure. I could ask. I don't think we have the landscape architect who prepared this plan.
Yeah, no, I see it now, Sean. I see it.
Yeah.
I see it, why they were labeled. Okay. Okay, I guess we'll just have to wait at this point.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any general questions about the proposal before you with the house or the house addition or the
Yeah, I have,
exterior patio or plantings around the house?
yeah, I would just say, Sean, that I guess what you showed on the screen was a little more clear than what I'm looking at in terms of the footprint of the addition. I really couldn't figure it out
Yes.
from what I have, and I couldn't figure it out when I went out there and looked at the staking. It just didn't match up. So,
It's hard because it's going within the footprint of the existing brick patio. As you can see on the screen,
well,
you can see the orange is the brick patio, and really the proposed building is within the existing footprint of the patio.
Well, it didn't look that way when I looked at the staking. The staking there were stakes in the grass beyond the patio, not in the front, but on the side.
Correct. These are patio outside. So the addition to the patios are to the east side of the house, along this side. So you can see the highlighted. This is the existing footprint of the house.
You're not showing the map anymore.
I'm sorry. Yep. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
There we go. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So you've got the existing footprint of the house and then this orange colored patio in this area. So you can see on the left side of the screen, the orange is the building addition, which falls entirely within that brick patio. And then you do have some patio amenities that were staked outside of the existing within the lawn area. So it would be over, if you look to the right of the screen, over in this area here. And then that new proposed patio on the left side of the screen is basically in the lawn area, and that should have been staked over in front of the outside porch.
Yeah, the staking in the front was clear enough. I guess I'm still a little confused. When you say patio amenities, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, it highlighted in yellow is just patio on the ground.
Right.
So you've got patio on the ground that's highlighted in yellow here on the screen. And then you have just steppers that were probably staked out, just footpath steppers that are staked out along the sides of each of these areaway patios, essentially.
Okay, well.
I'd be glad to take
Yeah,
a walk on the site in the next couple of weeks with anybody to
No, I mean,
clarify if
there's
anybody would like to.
I mean, I think I'm seeing it, but just the depiction isn't quite as clear as it would be ideal, but it's fine, it's fine. It's the patio. So just what I'm talking to, I guess my questions are more along, other than that, my questions are more along, have more to do with the mitigation, so I can now segue back to Teresa. But I am confused also that the plan talks a great deal about the PSD, Polymus, the firm for, they basically provide a fair amount of, they have notes about mitigation and so forth, but yet it also says the plan will be forthcoming from Blue Flax after ZBA. So
so we had just found out. So we figured we had time because we wouldn't be on ZBA until late October. So Teresa was on vacation. We figured we had plenty of time to just continue this with a letter to the zoning board, and take out any comments that you may have on just the patios in the house. While we developed that plan with Teresa, we found out late in the game that we don't have to go to zoning board. So now we're
all right. Well,
basically fast tracking.
Ultimately, I think there might be some redundancy between what PSD provided and what Blue Flax provided, so we'll have to deduplicate.
And what you'll see is that Teresa's work will supersede the work that PSD has done, and that stuff will go off to the side, and Teresa's will supersede that completely.
Or shall we say replace it?
Yes. We'll replace.
And so I also want to note that somewhere in the application, or maybe you said it in your presentation, that you're proposing 50% natives in the outer aura. But I will say the same thing that I said to Dave Clark, the previous application. We've updated our regulations as of July 11th. So both you and Teresa need to look at those, especially with regard to what's changed for the aura, both the NDZ and the outer aura. And for specifically, we now have a regulation that should be 75% native in the outer aura.
Understood. We'll look at that. I was unaware of the change to 70, and I know it was a policy that you had that it was 50%, but we'll make those adjustments.
Right, and just take a look at all the new reg for the aura. There's a new section 5, that all should sort of be folded into your normal templates that you use to prepare these applications.
Understood.
Are there any? I guess not. Okay. So I do have a couple more questions. There were some notes, I think, in the PSD plan that referred to some historic topping that had been done to vegetation, I guess, in the restoration, the invaded area that's going to be restored? Just,
Teresa, had you spoken with Rob at all about that?
You're muted, Teresa.
Sorry, my apologies. I have not spoken with Rob about that, but I'm taking notes and I will have that on my list to discuss with him.
okay.
Thank you.
And it also, I mean, just Teresa, my reaction when I was out there, when I was looking at the property and looking at the plan, mitigation plan, there's a fair amount of lawn in the NDZ. And it almost seemed to me that'd be better to get rid of that lawn rather than go into the invaded area as much as being proposed. Just a thought as you just talk with the clients.
I think the concern, it's hard to see because it's just off the screen right now, but in the area that they had originally proposed for planting, you can see it's in a sort of a lighter green color or a mid-green color, and it's directly abutting a highly invaded area. So again, they were trying to meet the requirements for mitigation at the 2-to-1 within the 50 and 1-to-1 within the 50 to 100, but because they were backing it directly up to a heavily invaded area, we thought it would be best to manage the invasive vegetation and add additional mitigation, so remove additional lawn area, simply because if they are to plant that area that they were showing originally, it's just going to completely become overtopped with invasive vegetation. There's no opportunity for us to create a little bit of a mow strip in between. So if we are to handle the management of all of that invasive vegetation that's shown to sort of the east, the northeast, and this darker green hatched color, then we have an opportunity to create some continuous area. So as we move a little bit to the northwest, that area that's mown, there's sort of a dip in, it goes just over the property line, there's edge of clearing, and then that edge of clearing dips in. So that's been a regularly mown area because this entire site and the entire perimeter of this site is completely infested with invasive vegetation. So it's a big property. It's a lot to bite off in one chunk. So we're going to try and manage it in areas that are manageable, where we can continue to maintain as the property owners decide to take on additional invasive plant management through the course of the next few years.
Okay, and it's good to know that at least there's a hope to come back with more. But as you talk to them, we usually recoil at mowed lawn within the no disturb zone, even though it's been historically done that way for generations at times. So anything we could do to reverse that would be always welcome.
Of course.
Yeah, I guess that's all I have. That's all I have. Thank you.
I have one question. The covered porch, which is next to the addition, what does that look like? What's the base? And I mean, is it enclosed? I mean, usually I think of a porch as being enclosed.
Yes, it's essentially just a stoop with a roof on it.
Oh.
So it's just an overhang.
Oh, okay.
The zoning bylaw calls anything that's covered over deck a porch. So it's not that porch that you typically would think as a porch, but under the zoning bylaw, that's the definition of a porch, is essentially a deck with a roof over it. So it's a landing with a roof over it. Typically, you're just a stair landing. That's all that is.
Okay. And the steps that are, the pathways that are going to be used from the proposed patio and from the other area, those are going to be pervious and have...
Yeah, they'd just be individual stones that are laid.
Okay.
The lawn would be removed, and then you just have broad joints between those.
Okay.
That they'd be able to.
Good. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Anybody have anything else?
I got a couple of more questions for Teresa now that I think of it. Teresa, when you remove that vegetation on the bank, it's pretty steep. Are you planning
Yes.
on replanting that area?
Absolutely. It will be completely restored with native vegetation. What we'll have the opportunity to handle too is to keep the invasive vegetation from other areas at bay, because we have that mowed area just to the west. And then we're going to propose a mow strip to the southeast. I think Sean's drawing a line in right now, so that there'll be an opportunity for us to start, working our way through this invasive plant management project on this property and maintaining what we restore without it being completely overtaken by invasive vegetation from other areas of the property. So we'll have those mow strips, those firewalls, to be able to keep that area restored as the property owners think about moving through invasive species management throughout the rest of the property.
Okay, so when you replant, you're thinking about erosion control then on that, on
Absolutely.
that slope?
Absolutely. Yep, so when we bring the plan before you at the October 4th hearing, we'll be talking about managing, getting a ground cover layer reestablished where none currently exists, and then building on that with a mix of woody vegetation.
And the light green area, you're thinking about planting that as well?
Exactly, so that's additional mitigation, so that's additional part of the lawn that's going to be removed. And that was going to be the original mitigation offering because it meets the, I believe it meets the square footage for the proposed plan is required under the regulations. But recognizing that if they were to plant that strip, it will be entirely eaten up with invasive vegetation within one growing season if we don't manage the invasive vegetation surrounding it.
Okay, and that area is pretty shady? It's pretty shaded with those shade trees, so there'll be shade-tolerant plants in that area?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yep, I still need to go in and do a little more in-depth analysis, so that's what I'm working on. I had a preliminary site meeting with Polhemus Sabri de Silva before I left for vacation, and now jumping back in. I just returned on Monday.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Anything else? All right, so I think I heard you say that you'd like to continue to October 4th?
Yes, please.
Okay. We can have a motion.
Make a motion that we continue 513 Stage Harbor Road to October 4th, 2023.
Gordon, second.
All right. Elise?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, we're ready for the next, Paul.
Thank you.
Yes, before we go on to the next one, if Teresa's still online, there's a couple of COCs that were submitted, and she might be able to clarify a couple of questions, Teresa, on 212 Sears Road, if you could stay with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to hang tight and answer any questions about that. I'll bring up the plan while we're working through, so I have it in front of me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, next on the agenda is 486 Shore Road, 486 Shore Road LLC, map 16F, parcel A7, SE 103643. The project is demolition of an existing single-family dwelling and construction of a new dwelling within the buffer zone to a coastal bank.
Good afternoon, David Clark, Clark Engineering, on behalf of the applicant. Andrew Garrelay is also here, the landscape architect. I believe Teresa's still on the line. So we listened to what the commission said the last meeting, and Andrew went back with the applicants and reworked the landscaping plan, and tried to look at the issues that the commission brought up about the steps going down into the back lawn area. And Andrew has addressed that in his plan, and Andrew is here and is hiding behind me. So if you have any questions, and also Teresa, the changes to the restoration plan.
I'm Andrew Garrelay, registered landscape architect, Yarmouthport Design Group. Another thing that you guys asked for last time, you said it'd be nice to see an overlay of the existing versus the proposed building. So I did a color of that. I don't know how well you can see. Everything in color is existing in your jurisdiction. The red coming out this way is existing outside of your jurisdiction, and this is the house itself existing. And in black, I'm showing the house proposed here and down through here. There was a comment made about some of that area being vegetated rather than hardscape. I showed that in green. Also green here in the front. There's a retaining wall coming around this way. And you can see that currently there's a big wing out in this direction. We have a smaller one in that direction now. The garage was over here. We flipped it over to here. So the house isn't significantly a bigger footprint. Of course, we do have a larger hardscape heading toward the south. And I just wanted to show you that because you guys asked about it. And so what I've done, based on the last meeting, was I pulled in the hardscape from the resource area back toward the swimming pool, eliminated most of the steps and retained what was requested there. We pulled back the hardscape to preserve the Quonset cherry tree, which was requested. And so that significantly reduced. And I think that was, I'm just gonna look at, I've worked on so many things in the last 2 weeks, it's crazy. Yeah, so reduced the hardscape in the NDZ and preserved the Quonset cherry was most of it.
Thank you. Questions? Go ahead, Bob.
Go ahead. I wasn't here last time, so I didn't get to put my 2 cents in there, but I did watch it, the hearing. And do you have a sense of, either one of you, how much reduction there was in coverage?
In the NDZ, we moved more than half of what we were asking for the last time, so it was 175 square feet reduction, I believe. My narrative said 293 feet was the expansion in the no disturb zone, and now we're down to 118.
118, okay. I mean, it's a relatively constrained property. Yet, you know, what's happening here is what happens with many applications where you have a house being rebuilt and then, wait a minute, we also want to put a pool there. And that's where we get into problems.
Yes, there is an existing pool as well.
Oh, okay,
There is.
okay.
It is
Never mind then.
right
The
there.
blue that's there, yeah.
This is the existing pool.
Okay, very good.
Now it'll be
Almost the same size. The new one's slightly bigger.
Got it. All right, thank you. I make the same comment, Dave, that I made, because previous, when you were up here last. For example, in the new regulations for the ARA, we actually have a reg in there now that says in the outer ARA, there should be no more than 33% coverage. So what I'm interested in is, not to say that's what we were going to insist on here, but I am interested in knowing how much of the outer aura will be covered
So
percentage-wise.
the original proposal was 74.2%. It's slightly less than that now because I believe we removed 70 square feet with this revised plan.
Right.
The existing conditions was way over that 32%, whatever the number is. The existing site is 58.1%, and the green space that's left to the property lines on both sides is, I think, 100% disturbed. I don't think there's any natural or native vegetation left because of the existing fence line and the site being developed for decades.
Yeah, correct. This is a change in regulations that we're going to, I think, have to feel our way through, because it is a significant change. So we'll have to sort of piece together what does it mean when we're redeveloping a site that was, let's say, all disturbed in the outer aura, which most of the times it is. And whether this new regulation means, really, do we really want to have no more than 33% coverage, yeah, in the outer aura and so forth. So we're going to feel our way through it. And so I brought up, when I started talking, I mentioned the fact that it's a constrained lot, and we have to take that into account when we think about this. But I just wanted you to, I think it would be good, I don't know exactly where we're going to go with this, but this postdates the change in requirements, your application again. So I think we will need to have your depiction of performance standards with the new regulations for this application.
I know you stated you voted on them in July. When was the effective date?
It's a good question. Crystal, what do you think the effective date was? Because I think you mailed them out to everyone. I don't know when that was.
I posted them, and it was supposed to be August 1st was the start date.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I think you're
Yeah, I think we first heard this August 26th, I think, and so we would have filed it 15 days before that. So,
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
So
so it would have been so we certainly weren't up to speed and probably had everything designed and the narrative already done by the
Right.
time we filed.
It may or may not be that important, but you should take a look anyway.
Well,
Yeah. And because I think, well,
I didn't even know they got redone. I didn't even know they got redone. Excuse me, that's available online?
it's on the town's website, and also I think Crystal mailed it. I should have mailed it to
I
all the
got
normal
little
reps.
pamphlets sent to me,
That's different.
yeah, but that's all I got sent to me.
Yeah. Yeah,
I didn't actually mail them. I was never asked to mail them, but I can.
Well, if it's downloadable, that's fine with me, I can download it.
it's on the conservation page, not
Yeah,
the, I'm sorry, the
It's on the division.
division
Conservation
webpage.
Division.
Yeah, Conservation
yeah,
Division
I'll find
webpage,
it, yeah.
instead of the
Yeah, I
Conservation
just didn't know
Commission.
what
page.
happened.
Yeah. Where it should be, but that's where it is right now.
yeah.
Yeah, please have a look at it.
Oh, certainly will.
So, all right, that's all I have for a moment. I might have more later, but go ahead.
Well, I very much appreciate that you listened, since I was the one that was really adamant about the steps and how big they were. I look at what's in the NDZ, and I wonder if there's any way that you've got the patio for the pool that's rather large to the, I believe, north side, as well as another patio. And I'm wondering, and that second patio, that little semicircular patio, is almost entirely in the NDZ. And I'm wondering if there's any way that anything in that area can be cut back at all. Because I think when I was bringing it up the last meeting, it was primarily the stairs, but I said, we really don't like structures in the NDZ if we can avoid it. And there's a lot still in the NDZ. And I understand that there was stuff in the NDZ previously. So I get that, but we have an opportunity now to hopefully have less of a footprint if possible. And I very much appreciate that you listened, and this is better. It's definitely better, but I'm wondering if there's any way that there's anything that can be done to cut back the rest at all. Because that proposed patio next to the pool is large on that end. And I get it, they probably want some sitting area. But I'm just curious if anything can be addressed.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that was on camera. I think I have the square footage written on there somewhere.
I know it's only an increase of 118 square feet. It's just This gives us an opportunity to make a difference.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking to see if I wrote the square footage down. Yeah, and, I mean, you can always make something smaller. We are trying to get in a certain amount of, and it's not a lot of space, quite honestly. Because you gotta realize that I do everything in 1 inch equals 10, and
Right.
usually you're looking at 1 inch equals 20, so everything's twice as big on my plan. I think I could probably shave a little bit off around the outdoor kitchen, change that shape a little bit to get a little bit of a reduction there. I've got just enough room to walk on the far side of the pool and just
Right.
enough area to walk on the house side of the pool, and just enough area to fit that fire pit in, which isn't very big. It's really not very big spaces, quite honestly. And one thing that I should say too is it started out as one patio, and I was asked by the architect to lower the one portion in front of the windows so that it didn't block the view. So it was one patio, and it's really,
And-
it really is one, but except it's got a couple of steps that make the
Right.
difference, just to lower it.
But you have, and if you didn't have all of those, I think we just lost. Okay, we have to wait.
Okay.
We just lost teams.
I'm just gonna turn that back so
Of course.
I can see what I'm looking at here.
It knows. We back? No? Okay. I saw Teresa, thought maybe we were back.
You didn't write down the square footage of the patio area, did you?
Oh,
It's not called out, so.
no, it's not.
Okay. All right, guys.
No. Good opportunity to talk to client, I suppose.
Working on it. There we go. Bingo.
Okay, we are back. Sorry for that. We lost teams for a little bit. So we'll take this up where we were. My thing, and it wouldn't be questioning as much as there is a lot of patio between the fire pit area, the, I guess, kitchen, and then the pool patio. And that's the only reason I'm kind of asking if there's any way to cut the stuff that's in the NDZ back at all, because they do have quite a bit of patio space.
Yeah, I'd still say it's not that very much patio space around a pool. We have just enough for chaise lounges, a very small table, and a small fire pit area here. However, I did speak with the client, and what we could propose to do is bring this patio area up to the level of the rest of the patio, which will allow us to take away those stairs, so we could bring this back in 2 feet this way.
Oh, good.
And I could shave off a little bit of this circular piece here and
That would be wonderful.
reduce it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, anything is better. It's just that we, as a group, try pretty hard to keep things out of the NDZ, and since this is a total rebuild, it's an opportunity to gain back some area that had been lost at some point, maybe when the regs weren't what we have now. So if they're willing to do that, that would be wonderful to see. So thank you.
Okay.
Does anybody else have anything? Bob?
Just was gonna ask about the irrigation. When we left the last time, we were discussing the irrigation system and, having irrigation in the no disturb zone. So how was that left?
Yeah, there was existing, and I didn't realize
Yes,
it was existing.
there is existing irrigation, and it hasn't been used out of respect for the conservation measures the town has taken up until this year. But they would like to keep it,
Like to keep it?
yeah.
Okay, well,
It's part of our formal request is to keep it.
yeah.
But there will be no new irrigation.
No new irrigation, no.
I guess that's all we can ask for then.
And there will be a reduction of lawn in Teresa's plan.
There'll be a reduction in lawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess Teresa wants to speak?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Teresa Sprague, Blue Flex Design. I just want to point out that we, with the reduction in the proposal for patio within the 50-foot, and I believe David said it's been reduced by about 50% down to 118 square feet. We have not reduced the proposed mitigation. So we're still proposing to remove almost 2,500 square feet of lawn and replant that to create a more robust vegetated buffer. And then in addition to that, we're proposing to manage invasive vegetation. So we're looking at just under 7,500 square feet of mitigation total. So it's a significant amount of mitigation for some fairly minor increase in structure within the no disturb. And I understand entirely that the goal is maybe I froze, that the goal is to not increase any structure within NDZ. But we are proposing just under 7,500 square feet of mitigation, of which 2,500 square feet is lawn removal and planting with native vegetation. So there's been no reduction in the proposed mitigation, even though there's been a reduction in the size of the hardscape. Thanks.
Thank you, and I do appreciate that.
And just to be clear, with the amount of the mitigation, the client would rather not make this reduction that I'm talking about, because now it's going to bring things into the view out of the windows. If the reason to make that is, if we're not going to get this permitted, if it's going to make the difference between getting permitted and not permitted, will do that, but would much rather not do that.
I'll leave it to everybody to see what they think, but I would prefer the reduction. Any other opinions?
What's the, why is it so necessary, Andrew? That
Well,
area that we're
the-
talking about?
Okay, the architect has windows in the house here that go low on the wall. Because of the height of the pool area and everything else, because of the difference in grades here, and, you know, as you know, we're raised up here. If we put something in front of the windows, we put a kitchen countertop in front of the window, it's in front of the window. So we lowered that section of the patio in order to keep that out of the view. And then the other thing it's gonna do, it's gonna create a drop-off around the edge of the patio. So now we've got to, again, have another step issue or hazard issue of falling off the edge of the patio. I don't need a railing there, but at this point, but if we put a railing there, that's one more thing that's outside of the windows of the house. That's why it drops down. So it meets existing grade by dropping it down. And this is gonna raise it up above the existing grade, which I don't know if that's a good thing.
So you would just, so there's no way you can just reduce the amount of, just to make that patio area smaller?
If I make it smaller, there's not enough room to walk around the outdoor kitchen area. I want to make sure people can walk without going onto the grass or.
All right. Any other opinions? We have a dead silence.
Well, if it's a, you know, I don't want to go against my counterpart over here.
No, you're welcome to.
But if it's a safety issue, then maybe keep it. And Teresa's talking about, you know, having enough mitigation to cover that area, so.
But what I could certainly nip a little bit off the edge here where I have that curve. I was following the curve of what was there existing. I can nip a little bit off of that. It won't be as much, but I could do that.
Anything would be,
Better.
Okay.
anything would be better than it is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any other opinions, thoughts?
Yeah, it's, as I opened with, it's a relatively constrained lot. A lot of mitigation, even though, as we say here on the commission, hardscape is forever, mitigation is not, or something like that. So, but I wouldn't have an issue if, I don't see how you can actually significantly reduce the coverage there more than you've done now, so I could go either way. How's that for a wishy-washy answer?
It's an answer.
So we're torn between unobstructed view and
A drop, there's also.
and a drop in
there's
the
also a-
safety drop. So I'm with my friend Bob at the end. If it's a safety issue, more of a safety issue to have the patio level with a drop, even with a cut, I would give in to the lower patio. You're gonna shave a little. I mean,
I can certainly shave a little bit off there.
you've done amazing work, and Teresa has a lot of mitigation,
I
which
agree.
is not forever. So I think that I would want to, I would
Shave a little bit off.
shave a little off.
Exactly.
Leave it low
I mean,
and
I'm just
shave.
looking for anything we can get.
I understand, yeah. I understand.
Mary, do you have any thoughts?
No, I think you guys have summarized the conflict very well, that, you know,
Okay.
no disturb means we shouldn't be having something there. It's been there. They have the right to it. It's a beautiful piece of property. It looks like a beautiful plan.
I agree.
Anything you can do to pull it back a little is great, but certainly don't compromise safety.
No, I
Would be my
don't want safety compromised, that's for sure.
Is that something we could do, that I could bring it to staff and not continue the hearing?
Well, I mean, I think we're going to have to continue anyway, because you're not even before ZBA until the
Yeah, we
12th.
still gotta go
Oh,
through
okay,
ZBA,
okay, yeah.
So, I mean,
so there's no issue.
we could
All right,
either.
It's not an issue, I guess.
Right, so our next meeting's September 27th. If you had the new plan then we could start, if it all goes through, we could start doing the order, and then on the 27th, continue you to after ZBA, and be able to just
Yep.
take care of the order, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's.
as soon as you get Andrew's new plan, you
Exactly.
should be able to be in a position to write that letter to zoning board.
Exactly, and that, that gives you, we're not meeting again till the 27th, so it gives you some time. It's
Yeah.
not like we're meeting next week.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I can certainly do that very, very quickly.
Okay.
Great.
So should we
good.
continue to the 27th? Bob?
Okay. I'll make a motion that we continue 486 Shore Road to September 27th, 2023.
Gordon, second?
Elise?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I say aye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Paul, we're ready for the next.
Okay, Madam Chair, thanks. This is the one that's going to be continued.
Correct.
498 and 500 Shore Road, 498 Shore Road LLC, 500 revocable trust for Stephen A. Brighton and Stacy A. Brighton, map 16G, parcels 3D, A5 and 3E, A6, SE 10, 3645. Construct and maintain a beach access stairway over the coastal bank, a portable rinse station, install a storage lock of a store previously approved mitigation, and perform a bank stabilization project. So I guess we received a request from the applicant to continue to September 27th. They're working with some abutters on some easement issues that are going to be right in the middle of some of the work that's going to be proposed.
Correct.
That's the project.
All right. We just need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we continue 498 and 500 Shore Road to September 27th, 2023.
Gordon, second?
All right, Elise?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay, next on the agenda are requests for certificates of compliance. First one is 212 Sears Road, Richard Murphy, map 10A, parcel 12, SE 10, 3353, invasive plant management. And maybe Teresa can help me with this. I did go out and visit all of the properties for the certificates this morning. As you know, I kind of just jumped in about a week ago, so I don't have any history on this, but I got a request for a certificate of compliance. I got the form, but I didn't get the checklist. I didn't get a certification on the plantings, and there were just some questions I had when I went out there, Teresa, that you might be able to help us out with. Did you submit this request, or did the owner do it?
We did. We submitted the request along with a final monitoring report dated August 13th, 2023. So we had submitted monitoring reports on May 15th,
Okay.
2021, July 9th, 2022, and then we did our final one on August 13th that we submitted with the request for cert, certifying that the plan was completed per the conditions.
All right, and I apologize, I just found that attached to the back. So when I looked this morning, everything did look great. She did a wonderful job out there. It's a beautiful property. There is an as-built requirement in the order, but I think you can waive that since there was no construction done here in terms of any buildings or structures. So I don't think there's a need for an as-built plan. And as far as I'm concerned, my recommendation would be to approve a full certificate for the request, with ongoing conditions number 7, a a special condition, and 11, a general condition, and we'll waive the 8B requirement for the as-built plan.
Okay. Any questions? Then I think we can, motion.
Make a motion that we approve the certificate of compliance for 212 Sears Road.
Gordon, second?
All right, Elise?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, next one.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is another certificate. This is also Teresa's 35 Sears Road, Mark and Julie Cassidy, map 12A, parcel 12, SE 103426, the construction of beach access steps at the end of Battlefield Road, properties adjacent to Battlefield Road. I went out there this morning and took a look. Teresa has submitted a couple of ongoing conditions. One would be the ability to conduct sand nourishment, and 2, follow-up maintenance activities such as minor repairs of the stairs following significant storm events. Teresa, did I make a mistake? Is this Wilkinson?
This,
Not you? I did.
this is Steve LeBranch from Wilkinson. Yeah, this is a Wilkinson project.
All right, okay, so I was there this morning. I had trouble finding the stairs. There's nothing in the plan that indicates, there's a picture of what was out there before you got started, but I don't have an as-built plan in the file of the stairs.
So Paul, this is what, when I went in and spoke to Nikki in the office, this is what I talked to her about, to see if she would accept the plan that we had on record for the fiber roll installation from this past spring. And she said that was fine because the stairs are shown on that plan.
Okay, so she said you don't need an as-built.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Well, again, I'm sort of just jumping in, so if the commission accepts that, that's fine. The rest of the project looked good. The mitigation plantings looked good. The nourishment was, there. So I think they're in substantial compliance. And they did request those 2 ongoing conditions. There's a number of other conditions in the order that are going to be ongoing. I won't read them all. They're generally standard conditions that we make as ongoing conditions. So they've added these 2 extra ones, and with that, and the mistake I made, apologize, Teresa, I would recommend issuing the certificate if the commission thinks that it's appropriate, given what the representative just said with the conversation with Nikki. Not my call.
I guess if Nikki said. Yeah, so I think we have to go with what Nikki said.
Okay.
But thank you for clarifying that. All right, then we need a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the certificate of compliance for 35 Sears Road.
Gordon, second?
All right, Elise?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I say aye. Thank you. Okay, next.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is another certificate, 70 Sears Point Lane, Hoyt and Deborah Ecca, map 11A-A1, parcel 7-5, SE10, 1141, repair retaining wall. We did get this is an old one, we got a email from Attorney Litchfield, and it says basically, since the original COC was apparently lost and we need original signatures to record, we would just need a new original COC with new signatures. So it would be probably easier and cleaner to start afresh rather than have new signatures attached to the old COC. So I'm not sure procedurally, we should probably just continue it, let him file his new forms, get your original signatures, and I think you could probably close this out. This is an old order. Took a look at the conditions. Not even sure what was actually involved with this, but it's really just sort of cleaning up this very old order with there's really no issues here that the commission should be, I think, concerned with. So, and I think Mr. Lish will probably be at the next hearing when we go through this again.
So Paul, I'm not sure if we need to continue it, because it was originally issued a certificate of compliance back in, I think it was 94.
Yeah, but
Basically reissuing the document.
well, yeah, but the commission's gonna, doesn't the commission have to approve it once they sign it? I mean, officially?
Well, if we vote,
I guess you could reissue it and not do anything, just not have another hearing, but,
I'm confused.
Yeah, I'm a little confused too, Paul. So the original certificate was lost? Is that what I heard?
apparently,
In other words,
again,
we don't have a copy of the original approved certificate of compliance?
apparently not.
We have a copy, we have 2 copies, but we don't have the original. So they can't record it, and the original was never recorded.
Okay.
And it was issued prior.
All right.
Start over again.
That's different.
So really what you're asking is for us to approve closing it again so that you'll get signatures this time and have an original. Am I right? If,
Yes. They,
You need an original.
They're selling the property, I think.
oh, okay. So what would be the reason to continue it to the next meeting? What would happen in between now and then?
Well, you have a lost certificate.
Yes.
You don't have an original, okay? You're gonna have to sign it. The normal procedure for, issuing a certificate is you advertise it and, or you continue it. And then you vote to approve it. So
Okay.
if you feel you can just go ahead and sign a new certificate just because it was lost and they need to record it, then that's sort of a different procedural issue. I suppose you can do that. I was just trying to be cautious.
Okay.
You know me when it comes to procedures. So if you prefer, it is possible, I suppose, just to have him submit the new one, you sign it, and then he records it. Because it was approved, it was just lost, and you just need the original for the recording at the registry. So you could do that.
Paul, have you seen the copy?
Yep.
And it looks reasonably official and authentic?
Yep.
Okay.
It's just not the original. So,
yeah.
I mean, I could actually, you could, why don't we do this? Why don't you continue it to the 27th? Let me call Attorney Litchfield. He's the lawyer involved. Let's see what he'd like to do. If he prefers just to have it signed and then you give it to him and he can go report it, then you can just, skip forward at the next hearing.
You ask him now, Paul.
Looks like he's on the call.
Hey, Counselor.
Yeah, I apologize for coming in late. I didn't know there'd be any reason to. So
You just want to, Bill, do you just want a new certificate with new signatures so you can record without any kind of hearing?
Yeah, apparently a hearing was held back in 1994. And this outstanding order has been on record all these many years. The recipients of the certificate of compliance are both deceased. The family is in the process of selling the property. And we applied for a certificate of compliance. Then yesterday when I was looking at the file, found 2 signed copies of a complete certificate of compliance, which was a great relief. So insofar as I know, a hearing on the request for the certificate was held 29 years ago. And all we're looking to do is get the paperwork signed.
Okay, so you don't need to continue it then.
Insofar as I'm concerned, the board, the predecessor commission in 1994 felt that the work was done in accordance with the order. And unfortunately, the original certificate of compliance, while you have copies there, if it was given to either Hoyt or Debbie Ecker, I can't ask them what happened to it, but it was never recorded at the registry. So all we're looking for is basically validation of what the commission found in 1994.
And do you know what the work was for?
Yes, it was for, there's a fairly lengthy hearing. There was a wooden, it wasn't a revetment, but a wooden barrier or support fence holding up part of the bank that, according to Mrs. Ecker's original letter to the commission in 1993, had been there since 1930. It had deteriorated, needed replacement. The then commission found that replacement was appropriate, and it was replaced. Very frankly, I don't know whether it's still there or not. It may have fallen apart or subsequently been replaced. But the fact of the matter is that there's an outstanding order of conditions for which we need a certificate of compliance. And again, the commission found in 1994 that the work had been done in accordance with the order. So it's essentially a paperwork issue to clear the title rather than anything further.
I'm good with that.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
So were we, Mr. Litchfield, you want us to, you're looking for us to sign a new certificate referencing the old certificate?
I would think that the information on the first page of the old certificate could be put on a current form, and then your board could execute that if you're willing to do so.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
There are people in this world who might have borrowed a copy of the 1994 certificate of compliance, photocopied it, and recorded it at the registry of deeds. But there are others of us who don't like to lose their license to practice law, so we didn't do that.
That's good. I guess.
Paul has seen the copy. I guess, Mr. Litchfield, you've seen the copy. It looks good to both of you. If it looks good to both of you, then it's fine for me.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
With the explanation from Attorney Litchfield, I don't think you need to continue it. I was just trying to be cautious, but sounds like a plan if we just go ahead and do what he recommends. Shouldn't be an issue.
And I do appreciate your being cautious, so thank you. Then I guess we can do a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the certificate of compliance for 70 Sears Point Lane.
Gordon, second.
Elise?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I say aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now we're at the unforeseen items before the commission. Paul, do you want to talk about anything with violations and updates? Because I know you had 107 Taylor's at least.
Yes, I've been in touch with Commissioner Rawls about this, and I did a site visit yesterday with Crawford, and Bob can speak to some of the issues that he was concerned with. One was stump regeneration of the oaks that were cut. As you recall, this is a very old, well, a long-lasting violation, probably the most complicated one we've ever had. It went on for a very long time. Lots of enforcement orders issued, went to court, consent decrees were signed. We finally got it back on track this spring. A letter was, I drafted a letter, Dr. Braub approved it, we sent it to council, then they sent it to their clients, and we finally got the work underway. And Crawford, at this point, is done some ground cover work. The plantings we looked at, there are 5 or 6 that need to be replaced. They're dead. They didn't make it. As far as the stump growth goes, Derek from Crawford indicated that his arborist was going to go out. This would be a good time of year to do that and start working on that stump regeneration for the oaks. And I think the final issue, Bob, was the issue of the no further incursion into the restoration area. And Crystal located yesterday in the restoration order, number 7, which says the area shall be demarcated to avoid any further incursion by line of cape stones, each approximately 6-inch wide, placed every 10 feet, and a sign on a pheno-style marker placed by the forsythia, noting that the area is a conservation restoration area. We talked in the field about, other alternatives, but this is it's specifically referenced here in terms of what they want to do. I suppose you can change that and put a fence in or do something else, but it has to be done. And I did tell Derek when I located the specifics of it, I'd send it to them, and they said that they would do it. So that's the status of everything. It's ongoing. As you know, there's more mitigation work to be done in terms of maintenance. This is going to go on for a while. But that's the status of it at this point in time.
All right, thank you. Bob?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Yeah, Paul asked me about it because he and I had worked a lot on it back in the day. So
Yes.
the coppicing question, Paul, just so you were there with someone from Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
And what was your impression of the regrowth from the stumps?
It's already starting. It needs to be, now is the time probably to address it. I think you're correct. They need to be worked on so that they come back properly. We found 1 or 2 that were dead. The rest are all starting to grow back significantly. So the coppicing needs to start, and he thought this would be a time of year, an appropriate time to start to do that. It hasn't been done yet on pretty much the majority of the oaks, Bob, but they will get started with it. So my view, I agree with you. It should be done, and they're willing. They're not willing. They'll do it. And I can contact Derek and go over that with him, and we can go out and take another look at it. I did take some pictures, Bob. I just didn't have time to get them to you, but all they showed was some of the ground cover that they did. They're going to put more ground cover in, and just the dead shrubs that they put in that didn't make it. Everything else, other than the oaks, all the other mitigation plants we're doing okay.
Yeah, so some of the stumps that were originally designated to be coppiced have died. Is that what I hear you saying?
A couple.
Okay.
Yeah, not many. Small ones.
Just
Those
wondering
small
whether or
trees.
not, I'm wondering whether or not for those dead stumps now that we need to plant a tree or two. I'm not,
We could do that. I mean, I don't think they'd be unwilling to do that. It would seem reasonable. It was a tree that was cut. They have to do the replacement based on the ratio. So, yeah, I could ask him to replace those.
okay. And also in the email that you sent, there was some requests from the owners, which I don't have in front of me.
I just had it.
Well, my understanding was the owners were adamant about not wanting to put in the demarcation line. It is in the restoration order, so it has to be done. I would like some clarification that I can convey to Crop on whether what I just read to you, the 6-inch wide cape stones every 10 feet is what you want, or do you want a small split rail fence?
With rope?
I mean, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. This has been contentious. The owners are, I will say, after speaking with Crawford, they seem like they want to move this forward with a new attitude. Let's get going on it. They're being cooperative. They're doing what they're supposed to do. The only issue that I heard about was that there was, from Bob, was that there was this issue of the demarcation line. If the restoration order lays it out specifically, maybe that's the way we have to do it rather than go with an alternative, especially if they're not, too happy about doing it.
Vista pruning.
Right. Yeah, we just have to, as you know, stick very strictly to the letter of the negotiated agreement here. We can't go less or more than, in this case. I do remember the original. Are we off again? Did we just die? Jeez.
Are we? Okay. Well, we almost gotten through the.
Almost, we're almost there. Yeah, the Vista stuff.
The Vista that he said could have to apply.
Yes,
To commission.
yes.
So.
Because that wasn't part of the original.
No, but I think that's the part you're thinking about, maybe.
No, I was thinking the same thing you were, that had to come back for that.
Yeah, they were asking about ongoing maintenance or a Vista prune.
Yeah,
View Vista.
they have to come back for that.
Yeah,
If it wasn't addressed in the agreement.
and it does say once the contract is over, so they have to come up, it says, he said to come back. Can't Paul walk down here for this part? Does everybody need to be part of it?
Well, we still need to be online.
I know, we do. I'm sort of kidding, sort of. But wait till Janet's back.
It's been a hard.
Wait till Janet's back,
it's
I'm
been a-
gonna say, oh my
it's
God, we
been-
lost the meeting like 5 times. I think this is 4.
It's been a hard,
She'll say, I don't care, I was eating great Italian food the whole
Yeah.
time.
it's been a long time without good support.
Yeah,
Yeah. And we're going backwards.
so,
Yeah.
as an aside, yesterday, Paul said something to me that maybe he was interested in taking over officially.
Yeah, he's probably going, I would assume he would apply for it.
So hopefully, but
He's also got a couple of guys who can take over the North Beach stuff, so
I think he's thinking
he's
about,
got some fun.
I think he's ready to come in from the cold.
Yeah,
I think he's thinking about,
Retirement too, yeah.
yeah, he is. Yeah,
trying to get his numbers up.
Get those numbers up.
so, he's good. He's thorough.
Yeah, we're lucky that he's willing. If he applies for it, that'll be great.
Oh my God, if we didn't have him, we'd be in big trouble right now. Without anybody.
Oh, God.
Katie said that we're gonna post it quickly.
Yeah, I've heard that before,
Yeah, I know.
many times.
Maybe Katie will.
Maybe Katie will.
Maybe.
So that means Nikki's not coming back? Oh, really?
Yeah,
She resigned.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, she's, as of Friday, gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, can you believe, I mean,
Wow.
so things must have taken a turn.
Sad, she has young
Or-
kids too.
Or,
Who knows? We don't know, we don't know what happened.
yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping she takes a turn. I'll tell you that. Wow. I don't know how she's been,
Coping with the whole thing, yeah. It's a lot having young kids and having a full-time job.
and being,
And being ill, yes.
Yes,
I
yeah,
mean, that's the
Seriously.
worst part.
yeah.
Being ill and kids is bad
Yeah.
enough.
Just
Forget
wondering,
the job.
well, I'm just wondering whether the illness was a result of,
Was brought on by
Yeah.
work and kids and.
It's that chicken and egg, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I will say, when I was working after my big car accident, I had horrible headaches and had to do only thing that got rid of it was Botox.
Oh, all right, we're back.
I haven't gotten the indication where.
Okay, we can hear you now, Karen.
Yeah, so, okay, we're
There you
good.
go.
We are back. So, we were talking about 106. We were
The last
talking,
thing was said, yeah, the last thing was said was nutshell.
okay.
That's it in a nutshell. I gave you an
In a
explanation of everything, so.
In a nutshell, okay.
Yeah, I was like, huh? I don't,
I do remember we were talking about the demarcation, and I do remember during the original discussions that we were asking for a low split rail fence. But it sounds like the final language in the negotiated agreement was left it open to interpretation. But the thing,
I would say doesn't leave it open to interpretation, but,
said it was rocks.
yeah, but the thing that is not or not open to interpretation is the fact that a sign must be there.
yeah, my understanding was, after speaking with you, that, that there was some discussion with the owners that this was a sticking point. Maybe they weren't too happy about doing it. I don't know if that's a fair representation or not. I wasn't there, but.
I think that's correct. They did not want it, yes.
Okay. Well, it's in the restoration order. It has to be done. Crawford said that they would work with us. They'll have to work through the owner to do that. But I told him I'd get back to him with the exact language and, you know, whatever the structures were going to be, that they would have to do that. And he asked me about a couple alternatives, and I said, I can't. That's up to the commission and whatever's in the restoration order. So I think you're stuck with number 7, which is the 6-inch wide Cape Stones.
Yeah, I think that should have been negotiated before this, at this stage, you know.
Oh, I guess you could, Bob. Good.
Well, I think we're stuck with it. It's in the agreement. And
In the agreement, yeah.
I think they follow that agreement to the letter, and then if they want to change anything or do anything different, they have to come to us.
Yep.
Everybody agree?
Yeah, I mean, it went around and around and around, and it's a legal document, and it's spelled out, and I think we should abide by it, you know.
So what are next steps, Paul? We're
gonna do the coppicing. They're gonna do some more plant. Oh, I hope we didn't lose each other again. Hello.
still there?
Yeah.
Yep.
We're gonna continue with the mitigation plan. There's some ground cover work that has to be done. The coppicing on the oaks will replace the dead vegetation, the plants that didn't make it. And then there's ongoing maintenance here that has to occur. So that's kind of where we're at with it. So I would get back to Crawford next week, or maybe by the end of the week, and let him know what took place today. And we'll get those dead plants out, some new ones put in. We'll start the coppicing, and we'll talk about the demarcation line and see if we can get that resolved for you.
Okay, and also there's the issue now of dead stumps that won't coppice and what to do about that.
Right. I think what he indicated was he was going to cut and treat those. They're pretty small.
But I think you were saying, Bob, that then we should be getting some trees put in place of those.
Yeah. Right. So that they don't keep trying to come back up. I mean, he said,
right.
I mean, I think they were dead, but there was like little tiny shoots coming off them, 1 or 2. So he said, I would just cut it again and treat it, and then we can ask him to replace those few that are there that are in that condition.
Right. Okay. Very good, Paul.
Okay.
Yep.
I just have a question about long-term care, Paul. What's going to happen with the long-term care of that area?
Well, you kind of got me on it. I'd have to go through the restoration order. Well, yeah. Why don't I do this, Commissioner? I'll go through the restoration order, and I'll send out an email to everybody. If there's something in there, I'm sure there is, with regard to long-term care. in perpetuity or whatever it might be. I'll spell it out for you, but rather than waste any more time today on it,
Yeah.
Good.
let me go through it and spend a little time on it and make sure I get it right.
All
I
right.
don't want to just flip through pages right now.
And then, was there anything else, Paul, you wanted to discuss?
No,
Okay.
I'm good.
We probably should stop before we lose it again. All right, we're ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Gordon, second.
Elise?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I say aye. That's it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.